That long?
Okay, so I am rolling on go. We're good to go.
All right, y'all, be quiet. It'll be real easy, don't worry about it. So you grew up a military brat. So
I
you kind
did.
of already knew what it meant to be Romainsy quiet. You already knew what it meant to be military.
It's different when you're the brat, though, as opposed to being the soldier, because it was dad, not mom.
Right. Well, tell me about the time you decided that I'm going to join.
Actually, I joined because my father passed away, and my mother, we were living in government quarters, and my mother had just had my little sister, and they gave us 15 days to move. And she wasn't entitled to any benefits simply because when my father signed off on his insurance, he put Pate Evans Jr. and abbreviated Jr., and they said that was not his legal name. And she did not get paid. And I watched her cry and suffer, and I vowed that my mother would see that check before I died. And I knew then, at a young age, that I was going in and fix that problem because it should not continue to happen. And I joined the military specifically to make sure that she got those benefits back and that it never happened again. And what happened was I went on a congressional tour, and Senator Helton from Maryland said, well, you've been in this military arena for quite a while, and you're doing a lot of things that other children wouldn't do. I said, the government screwed my mother. You know, when you have a vengeance for something. I said, and I watched her cry while my father gave his last breath taking care of his country and his army, and that's not the way to do it. 15 days to get out of quarters without sending anyone. Literally, she had just had my sister 30 days before. I said, and she was bedridden. Most of the relatives in our family thought that she had passed away, not my father. And so the senator said, I really think that you would do good in the military. And he started me on a cadet program. I was scheduled to be one of the first females to go to the Naval Academy. But I started seeing a lot of things that weren't done properly. I was the number 4 student, but the gentleman who I went to school with, the number 1, 2, and throughout the county, the number 1, 2, for every one female in 1976, there were 5 guys who weren't able to go, and all of them had standings higher than me. And one of them approached me and said, now we know you're good, and we all love you because we all work together in student government, but it's not fair that you take this slot and we didn't. And I got to see all of the under the table the stuff that really happened. And I said, you're right, it's not fair. But all of the wheels had already been rolling. So I waited to the day of presentation and told them that I'm going to do this the right way. So I'm going to decline this, and I'm going to go in, enlist it, and I'm going to work my way through so nobody can say that I got anything that I didn't deserve. And I'm here for one purpose and one purpose only. I had only planned to serve 2 years. They told me that was going to be the minimum time I could serve, and I figured I could finish school. I have a brother that's born the same month a year ahead of me, and I have another brother that's born in September of the same year. So I thought my mother's going to need some help, and I was the smarter one. So I thought if I went in and got my education without her having to do any more, then both of my brothers could go. And I had only planned to serve that 24-month time frame. And when I got in and started seeing the other inaccuracies and all the things that were being done, I thought, there's a lot more to fix. 2 years isn't going to cut it. So I joined as a military police. Back then, that was not a popular field to do, but I realized that this country girl could run and could do things and could qualify. They said, you can actually shoot. Well, we used to have to shoot for some of our food, so yes, I can do that. Can you hit that target over there? Yes, I can do that. You would probably make a good rifle team person. I said, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be outside all the time. I don't want to be in the dirt all of the time. I want to be in that office where I can learn how to get my mother's benefits and her privileges back and find out how many other women this has happened to and how many other family members, are as frustrated as I am. Long story short, I ended up becoming a military police because that was like the middle of the road, and that there were very few women in that field, and I could still shoot and I could rectify some of those situations because I started seeing where there were women who were being put out of quarters on a regular basis like that. Not just women, but family members and things that were happening that just weren't right, And I thought, okay, Lord, that's when the faith kicked in. Do I really want to do this? Because we were crossing paths that weren't the standard. I went through basic training with the first class of what they called one station unit training. And that was the first group of women who were integrated with the men. We were the last group to come in with the Women's Army Corps, the organization that I represent now, at Anniston, Alabama, Fort McClellan, where they told us that you were going to go to one station unit training, but you're coming back here. And military police, that was something different. They weren't integrated as much as they were. And then we also had the Marines and we were all joint training. So, I'm going in there and we're running what we call physical training, and we get to the 1 mile mark and they start stopping and we're marching. And they said, females fall out. I fell out, and the guy looked at me and said, where are you going? I said, well, you said females fall out. He said, that's for the Marine females. Now, I always was told that the Marines do everything harder, but the Marines females had a standard of only 1 mile, and they did female push-ups. But Army women had to do the same standard as the males. So I was the only Army female who had qualified for that time frame, and they said, you get back in this formation. So it was one of those, we're gonna put her to the test. Well, I wasn't gonna fall out just because I was the only one. I am running this, I'm gonna do this, and we are going to do it to the end. And by the time we finished that 10 miles, I was one of 4 people still in there. And I was like, okay, are we gonna run back? And they were looking at me, shaking their heads. And I thought, this is what we need to do. We need to stick together, and this is gonna be a standard. And so they tried everything they could.
Excuse me. All right, y'all. You're really starting to piss me off back there. I don't know who's making all the noise and coming in and out, but it's got to stop right now. All right. So how long were you in?
How long was I in the military? 25 years.
So you went in for 2 and came out in 25.
Yes, ma'am.
So you did a lot of living with you. So,
I did.
but MP is like boys club.
It was a boys club, but I didn't stay at NP. That's what I started out as, and I started use that as a stepping stone because before everyone knew what POTUS was, I became part of the President of the United States team, and started seeing that there was a lack of admin. We would get to places, and as a security force, the paperwork wasn't right, and I'm going, boy, they still haven't gotten this right. So I transferred over to what they called an executive admin assistant. That was where we would only work. They had executive portion of the admin who would only work for general officers and above, 06s and above. So I thought, this will get me closer to the top. I can do this, and I can also do security. And so I did that because I took dictation and some other things. And that seemed to be the field that was going to make it work, where I could still do both. I could be on the security side, could still shoot, could still, find out the inner workings of how we can fix some of the things, because we were the security team for a lot of the upper echelon. And
Figure out how to help them all?
I did. It took me quite a while. Actually, that's why I kept staying, because it wasn't quite checking that block. But it took a little while, but I found out that there was a group of, they call them Gold Star wives now. And when I went back to Aberdeen, Proving Ground, I found that my mother had become a part of that group. And she had all of these stories of the same type of thing. But I had found out that there was different rules about what could be done, and started asking them to please, use your congressional members, and then when they have to have a certain amount of time to respond to you, I'm working on that liaison office, and we will get some of those handled. And I worked with the DAIG, and it was the first time that every case had been handled within a 3-month time frame and resolved. And my mother got a back paycheck that paid off her house, paid for my brothers to finish their school, and was able to take care of all of the back bills. And it just seemed like God had finally answered my prayer, and that I got to see that there were a lot of other women who were trying to do the same thing. That there were so many things that it just took a little bit of effort, but nobody took the extra time to do. So when my mother got that check, she called me and she said, "The middle child is always the one." I thought I was the one that was her problem child, really, but she said, "If you can just stay long enough to finish what you started, you'll make me the proudest mother there is. And I'll stand next to you at your retirement ceremony and tell them how great it really is to have a daughter that doesn't mind going the distance, and for her country, her family." And that's really why I know that every fight is worth something when there's a purpose behind why you're still pressing forward. And although I might have started for one reason, I started seeing a lot of sisters and building a sisterhood and a brotherhood, because a lot of people have the misconception that this day was about, I think of it separate but equal, about our service being that we really are trying to separate ourselves from our brothers, and we're not. We serve together, and we should come out on the other end together. But the idea is the misconceptions that, first of all, women just started serving is not a reality. And secondly, that we are in, I still could not believe that some of my girlfriends couldn't believe that, well, women don't do the same thing guys do. I was like, no, we do it better. We do it better. We are the reason that they are good, because we will not let them get by with thinking that mediocre or substandard is good. They're going to push forward because we're there. And it is just so hard for me to fathom that people still believe that women are still serving coffee and tea in the PX and the commissary, and that we only do administrative jobs, and that we are not sure why we're here, or that we join the military because we can't do anything else. I'm so flabbergasted at the idea that people would actually believe that that is the case. I know that for myself, there were times when the challenges, you hear the Me Too, and you think that, thank you, you think that you can't go forward, because there are some times and instances where it would have been easier to give up. But you have to always press forward. And then there were guys, men who would look at what you had accomplished and say, "Please don't give up. My sister's coming behind you." And one that said, "My mother was before you, and this is where you belong." And then I had the sisterhood of those who were like, "I may not be able to make this run, but don't you fall out. We'll be on the other end." And that's the camaraderie that makes you know that you can make a difference. You can change things. You can do what was not accomplished before, And those who were behind us, those 3 Ranger females that came to Fort Hood, had me standing at the gate for 5 hours just waiting to say, "Thank you. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you." And so when we were fighting for this day, it was one of those, we had actually some of the same females. I think I said this to you that day. Some of the folks who said, "We don't need a separate day. What are you all doing?" I said, "Well, let me ask you this. How long, everybody that said something like that, I would ask, how long do you think women have been serving? When is the last woman that you saw being appreciated? Did you know that there was a woman in 1975 who really, I heard someone tell a story earlier, who was standing as she got off of the plane. She was the pilot. And everyone went by and thanked the man next to her who was her co-pilot. And she smiled and said, "Thank you for allowing me to serve you. Thank you for allowing me to serve you." And we always have to be gracious when we're insulted. And it is just different to understand that now this is about education. This is about awareness. This is about telling the story that hasn't been told or showing the side that you don't see. We're educated. We're able. We have the same skills, if not better. We're able to take on task and finish task. We're able to have our baby one day and get back on the plane the next day, put my baby in my husband's arms, saying, "Okay, I thought, as I had always been told, there's going to be 3 months of convalescent leave, and I'm going to be able to nurse this baby because she has a lactose intolerance and none of the milk is working." And my commander said, "We're deploying to Honduras. You're the best shot I got. Pass that baby to your husband and get on the plane." But I'm still on convalescent leave. You were. But, well, if you want to get out, we can chapter you out and you can. My husband said, "I got this, I got this, I got this." And I was on that plane going, how did this happen? How come I didn't have an opportunity to fight this or what? And then I thought, remember what your mother said, and that's all I can remember. When you start something, finish it. And you are the best shot in this company. And when we got to Honduras and that sniper was firing at everybody that was jumping off of that plane, don't tell me bullets don't discriminate. That bullet could hit me just like it could the guy next to me. It wasn't a matter that women don't go into dangerous situations. And it wasn't the matter that when I looked back in the plane, half of the guys who were the heroes who had always been giving me a hard time weren't trying to get off the plane. I said, you know what? There is a lot more room out there than there is in here. You know, when we get ready to get off of this plane, I will do the cover fire. And they were all sitting there looking at me. And I was like, if you don't trust me now, then I don't trust you either. So we're either going to do this together or we're not. And I'm just going to tell you that the respect that I gained that day has lasted throughout my entire career. I found out that it is not a matter of whether you're a male or a female, but whether you can do the job. And at the end of the day, it should be those who can do the jobs are the ones that they put in the jobs to allow them to finish what they start. The only bottom line is when we came back from Honduras, I was the only one that did not get an award. The only one that did not get an award. And when I asked why, they said, well, you just stepped up. That was not your job to return sniper fire. You were sent as a team lead. And I said, okay. The other 4 squad leaders got promoted within the year. I had to wait 3 more years to see that same promotion. So it's not about whether or not we can do the job. It's about being recognized for doing the same job. And to let the awareness of those who allow that to happen, to know that it's time for that to change. It is time for that to change. And my prayer is that someday soon, that we won't need a separate day, that we will all be able to say, we've come this far, we've crossed the bridge, and we're crossing it together. And we're getting there. I'm so grateful to all of my sisters and brothers who thought it was not robbery, and to Representative Niave, and all of those who saw the struggle, know that there's still a struggle and that we still need to change some things. And the recognition through those like yourselves who are recording the stories, letting the reality be known, knowing that this struggle is for the betterment of all those who live in this country, who serve this country, and who have children, grandchildren, and those to follow that will get the story right, that will get the struggle right, that will know that we're better together than we are separate. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to have served my country and know that if you just endure to the end, I really didn't think I was going to get ready to retire. I didn't think I was going to make it to retirement. I didn't, because the struggle was that difficult. But, you know, in a sisterhood and a partnership, in a company, brigade, whatever they call them, in whatever force that you served in, you'll find that there are struggles that are emotional and daring, and even when we leave, we don't know where we're going. I know a lot of females who lost their significant others and spouses and families because of their service, because they gave so much. And when they get out, they're broken. I'm one of those. You know, I'm not afraid to say that when I came back injured, you know, and done, my family, I still have the original husband, thank God, but I don't know why. I really don't know why. So besides, he's a man of faith. And my children, you know, because I left them more than I was there, but they understood why. They understood why. And when I came back, depressed because I was the only one that came back from the last tour. Everybody else got blown up. I gave up my seat, and I barely made it out of that helicopter. And I'm just so grateful because when I came back, I was one of those that was shut in, didn't want to go out, didn't think I had a need to. My country had let me down. They had taken everybody I was supposed to retire with in one shot, and there was no vindication for it. It just seemed like we're expendable, and so I'm going to keep my expendable behind in the house. And it was for those services that we had fought for early on that saved me, that I'm even able to sit here and say this out loud, that I required some care. My sisters came to my aid. The VA started changing programs because there were no programs for women. You know, there were the services were not there. They said they offered services, but I'm telling you, undue advantage was taken for several of my sisters, and it was hard for us to try to go into a clinic where all of the doctors were males. I don't want to tell you my story and you're saying, well, isn't that what you signed up for? Help me, Lord. Help me. Help me not to say the wrong thing. So as we progressed through some of that, they started having home care where they would send a social worker. I was like, I'm not coming back out here for this. I've done my service, and I cannot believe that I have to come in here and take these insults. Service should be more than that. You know, we should be able to give back afterwards. That was what my plan was, but I wasn't able to pick myself up, so how am I going to help somebody else? So I started trying to make those adjustments, saying, well, why can't we have someone come to the house? Because I don't want to go in there. And I want a female psychologist. I want somebody who understands that my children are important. I've given enough time away from them that I would like to at least be home with them. I don't want to go in there and have somebody telling me this is what I signed up for. This is not what I signed up for. I signed up to serve, not to be belittled or chased around the desk or told that, well, you knew this was a man's world. This was not a man's world. This was a place where you served your country and you gave back and you made it strong. You made it stronger because of all of that you could offer, and that we fought to keep what was supposed to be the American dream and the American way. And none of that was in the contract that you take whatever is given. And I'm just not that kind of person. So the fight is real. There are people out here that can help you. There is no reason for you to stay locked in. There is no reason for you to feel like your service didn't matter. For all those who would not self-identify as a female veteran, you are important. Your service is important. What you gave, what you give daily is important. Although others may feel like you signed up for something else, let me assure you, what you do on a daily basis in your military arena, in your home life, You point out one female veteran, and I'm going to show you a woman who will go the distance no matter where they've been, because whatever they did, for however long they did it, they had to push forward and make that challenge work. I'm going to show you some of the strongest women in this country because of their service, because of their determination, because of what they give, what they dare to try, and how they endure. And I'm telling you, I would never stay behind a closed door now, because I know that this sisterhood, this service is more than I could ever have imagined on my own doing anything else. And I'm so grateful to God that I was given the opportunity to be a part of this. You know, I've heard it called the 1%ers, the 2%ers, but I'm just going to tell you, this is the percent of the chosen, because it takes a special person. I look around, like, let's just use your field of endeavor. I look around at people who do what they like, and they do it well, and they succeed at it, and they make a difference in others' lives. I think that's what happens when you take on a career that is predominantly a male arena, and you transform it by making sure that your skills are pertinent and used and make changes. And I see people, I'm telling you, I walked up to you on the day of Women Veterans Day, because you were walking around making sure that you covered every arena. And I thought, that's a woman on a mission. But it takes one to know one. So in this service to our country, it didn't matter whether you were Air Force, Marine. I'm going to tell you, I served in Hawaii, served in so many places. And that was the first place that I had been where I saw all the forces. I thought there was only 3. I thought the Marine Corps and the Navy and the Coast Guard were all like one. and so, and the Army was always the strongest and the biggest, but I'm going to tell you, if I had it to do all over again, I'd want to be a pilot in the Air Force. And I'm going to tell you, because the Air Force seems that, we always looked at and said, the Air Force treat their people right. They treat their people right. In the Army, they offered you an entrenching tool. You go dig your own toilet hole. You had to walk every place, run every place, or ride in a cattle truck. But, you got everything that, they said, if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. I'm a witness. But when I got to Hawaii, I started saying, boy, I think I walked a little taller, stood a little stronger, because I'm looking at these women over here. Their uniforms were tailored for them. Look at those women over. Would you look at these Marine women? The Army gives us whoever, this is the closest size. Here, take it next, take it next, take it. And I'm going, we're standing next to these women that are coming out here in dress uniforms that are tailored for them. So I started saying, we have to do better. How do we work on our uniforms? And they helped us. They were given makeup classes. We were told, in the transition phase, if the Army didn't issue it, you don't need it. But that has changed. You see where the transition happens. You see where the camaraderie makes a difference. You see where service in certain places make a difference. I tell you, I stood next to my sisters when they were looking at the Women in the Military stamp. In the 1993 through 1997, they stood us side by side, and I thought, if only I could be one of those women that make a difference. And my mother turned to me and said, you are. Golden, just golden, just golden. So when we went to the dedication of the Women in the Military Services, I took my mother and my daughter, and I'm going to tell you, when we marched across to that reflection fountain, I knew that I was one of those women. I was locking arms with a World War II woman. I was locking arms with a woman who had also served, and I thought, why am I standing up here with these special women? They said, because you're special too. We didn't have women who,
Okay.
Okay, so you've practiced getting things done for 25 years, you're retired, and things went on when you got out, you realized that this is important.
it
And
is,
yet we've had 70 years to kind of, you know, or at the time, I guess it's closer to 60. You know, it's been 60 years since the president has recognized women as really part of the military, like official. When did word come about
Seventy.
that this was going like we want a day?
well, initially, we meaning those of us from the Killeen, Fort Hood area, you know, Fort Hood is the largest installation in the United States. And so we have the most females up there. And that community was working toward some initiatives for the Central Texas Cemetery, and they were working on a parks and recreation thing. So we started in 2016 trying to work toward some more initiatives for that cemetery out there and for some of the other parks and recreation things, state-run cemetery, and those have been accomplished. But that is where the initial trail started. We were working with that bill to try to see whether or not we could accomplish some other things. And so we were trying to tack on to that, well, you know, there is no female monuments, and there are there's no really recognition, and they weren't even, the rules weren't even the same. And so, you know, when they were coming for the Parks and Recreation, we were coming with our council team and mayor and stuff saying, but there are some things that you're forgetting, you know, you have all of this over here, but what about this? Is there any way we can incorporate this in the same bill? Because even the differences in who could go into the cemetery and what could be used and things. So it really started out as an initiative to try to fix the physical part of it. And then, you know, we started having these conversations about, well, if we had our own day, we wouldn't have to worry about this. It would be something that we could try to blend. We don't know why we're having to fight so hard. Why is it, you know, why are these different things still different? Why is it even a question? And so that's how it initially started. So, you know, it dragged on from 2016 to where we got to the 2017 things, and it looked like we weren't going to be successful, because at one point they asked us, if there are 177,000 women, where are they when we start testifying here? Why are there only, and they're looking back, they're going, 5 or 6 of you? And we said, well, because the difference between the females and the males is usually they're the ones who have the children, they're the ones who have work. You're calling these testimonies and these committee meetings during the day, during the business day, and you're changing them. So if they take off of work or they come, you know, we are women that stay involved. They have, you know, other things and other schedules. If you say that the committee meeting is going to be on a Monday, and on Friday you pull it up at 2:00, how many women can we get here at that time? So it then began to seem like that was the intent. That's what was happening all along. So, you know, it was easier to reach out for the same folks. You know, Dr. LaShondra Jones wasn't legislative liaison at that time. So when we were going from office to office for the Parks and Recreation bills, we were running into women that we were saying, are you a veteran? Are you a veteran? Are you a veteran? You know, we will seek each other out when we need some help. So are you a veteran? You know what, can you call us when this happens? Because you would not believe the number of times we drove up there to try to test, and things had already changed. They changed the schedule. You know, you can't keep doing this every day. But my car was able to go on autopilot. It seemed like it was going there by itself. And so, you know, we started finding there were some veterans throughout the Capitol who were willing to say, okay, we'll call you, we'll text you. We started changing numbers and say, when we hear this, we'll change. And then we went to Representative Niave, who said, we can do this. We're going to do this. Another woman, that's like that sisterhood that I talked about, who was determined that she saw the struggle and said, This can happen. So she, her and her staff worked some things, and that's when we were getting closer. But once again, they asked us, how many women can you get here to testify? And when we looked up, there was less than 10 of us in that room, less than 10. But you know what? It's not about the number. It's about the heart, about the matter, about the passion. And I'm telling you, those sisters who were here in this room and there in that room, there was that heartbeat that you hear when you know you're close or when you're almost there. And we were determined that we were not going to be turned back. So yes, it took some time. 70 years was too long anyway, but but that was a point at which you could reach something. And unfortunately, there were a lot of our own, even, I'm trying to say this tactfully without cutting, even the women's coordinators who were assigned, several times while we were testifying, there was, while we were testifying at it's hard when you try to be politically correct without stuff. When we were testifying, they were calling for the Texas Veterans Commission, who had the women's coordinators and things, and they weren't there. They weren't there. Three times in a row, they weren't there, and they had staff. And so we had one young lady that we knew of that was in our area, and we were trying to call, but the chief or the leadership of that section, they were not in the legislative areas where those committee meetings were happening, and they lost their funding. That was like, see, you always take from the areas that weren't able to defend themselves. There's nobody here. The women, they're losing funding, so that means they're going to lose staff. And so Anna, who was here earlier and testified, was by herself within 5 months. No staff. And so we're looking, going, we're in here trying to fight for a day, and they're taking the people who can help us work this from that. But that's the nature of how things happen. And that just gave us a little more drive. And Representative Niave was not going to be stopped at that point. And that's what happened. Those 6 women who dared to stay and say, okay, we're going to go the distance, and we're going to keep riding back and forth down the street, and and we're going to go to whoever else has to do that. But it took a lot of visits to a lot of offices, and it was not one of these things where, we just went in and said, we want to do this, and we want you all to give us a day, because at every turn it was, we already have Veterans Day. Why do you need another day? And so then we had to reach deep inside and say, and there was a lot of tears and a lot of holding, and say, because we have Veterans Day.
I'm gonna kick your ass, man.
Hey, Billy, we can hear you, buddy.
You're good, because I thought it was just me.
It's not just you.
But we have Veterans Day, so why is there a need for another day? Said, because when you look at Veterans Day, let's just look at your last Veterans Day thing. When we're in, I'm not going to say the name. We were in one of the congressional members' office, and he said, yeah, look, we have this day, we have this day. I said, wow, yeah, let's look. Look at all the guys on this one. Look at all the guys on this one. Let's play that tape a little more forward. Not a female. Do you see a female yet? We played that tape for 27 minutes before we saw our first female in the front line of anything in that parade. First female veteran, 27 minutes worth. And so when I turned around and said to him, if that's what you call recognition, then maybe there's something wrong. I said, these are the facts. 177,000 females. This is the Capitol. And the first female in the front line of anything on a Veterans Day parade was 27 minutes into the filming. Now, if you think that's fine, let's just make it public. Let's just see what TV station will see that that's okay. So then he said, well, Bring us some facts. No, no, no. You're sitting here and you're the one who has the staff and you can tell us, because then I was trying not to be as cordial and politically correct as I was mad that the reality is still there and they're telling us to prove it. And it's so obvious, it's so blatant. And I said, if in fact this is what's going to be the fight, you're going to see me and I'm going to be bringing my sisters every day. This gold shirt got to be a regular. I told him, I said, I don't care. We started doing round-the-clock schedules. When he gets to his office, when they get to their office, there better be a gold shirt standing outside of there. And we did that for 3 weeks until the next time that a testimony came up. And when I tell you that now we have a print on the back of our shirts that is our sisterhood, those who representative of every force and every woman in different arenas. And when I said, if you have to go alone, just remember that your sister's got your back. So that's why we wear our shirts. That's why we tell them, your sister's got your back. And my mother said, that's not good English. Until I said, well, you were a country girl, and everything that you used to say to us, especially when you were pushing us, was not good English. So the fight really culminated at that point when we decided that we're just going to have to keep going until we find out that we are important enough for them to take a second look. But when we did that last testimony day, we normally waited until the committee meeting was over, but I don't know if you ladies remember, when we did that last testimony, after Representative Niave got up, we walked out. It was like, we've said all we're going to say. We've done what we're going to do. We walked outside, took a photo, and said, we'll see you soon, and left. And I'm telling you, that was the journey's end. That's when it really started to say, okay. They started looking around going, okay. My frustration was that those are the same folks that on this day were the ones sitting up on the days going, look what we did. Look how we took care of them. And I wanted to remind them so much. You said we were wasting our time. And you said that we already have a day. And you said, and I said, I'm not going to do that. This is a celebration. We're going to celebrate. But there's more to follow. There is more to come, because although we've gotten a day, it's not about just the day. It's about what follows on. All of those things that haven't been done over the years, all of those folks who are still out there, my sisters who are still in the houses, my sisters who did not even know about the day, my sisters who think that their voice doesn't matter. We need you to self-identify. You are a veteran. You are strong. Your service was worthy. You are worth this journey and this fight, and we are better together, because they're thinking that few, even this year when you were there was not as many people as we expected. But I'm going to tell you, we are out there. We are here, and we are going to make this a day not only of celebration, but of change. And that is what the fight was for. That is why it is worth it to keep going. It is not about who did it, but why it was done, and that we have to move it forward. I want my sisters to come outside, and I want you to look at your other veterans. I want you to even embrace those who are leaving the service and let them know that their struggle may not be as hard as ours was, but that we can make it better by joining our efforts and letting everyone know that we have sustained this country's freedom. We have been a part of the enduring freedom that we see. We have made the difference. There is a woman behind every good thing. And I say that simply because there are more people here, and guess who's bringing them here? Guess how they got here? Guess how they stay here? I'm not trying to be a sexist and say that, we did it all. Because I started out by saying it's the camaraderie. We had brothers who helped us along this journey, but they've gotten their recognition for the most part. We're still 70 years lagging, and you look across the board, the promotions are not there, the recognition, the even the services. We're working with the Veterans Administration, the Women's Army Corps, Catholic Charities, Soldiers Angels. Some of these organizations that champion women's issues are on a daily struggle to even maintain what we've gotten. If you get it, they take it away. Just like I said about Texas Veterans Commission. One person cannot a state stronghold. A lot of the initiatives that came out of the Parks and Recreation bill that this day was attached to are being divvied out to that same organization. That veterans coordinator is alone. So how do you expect this to progress if you put so much in one arena without the support to make it successful? And that has been the struggle. That has been the struggle in the military. That is the struggle after you get out. That is the struggle every place you go. So if we'll combine our efforts, if we know that our service matters and we have to continue to fight, continue to know that we have to better each thing that we're looking for. We have to try to make every effort a worthwhile effort, and we're better together. So my sisters, come join us. Come out. Let people know, yes, I served. I don't care if you served 10 days. A veteran by description for the VA is one who served under other than dishonorable conditions, who served, and I'm going to tell you, there's only one disqualifying factor, and that was if you dishonorably served. And my thing is this: what's dishonorable service? How can you put those two words together? Sometimes it was not about their service as the disservice that was rendered. So if you served and you came out alive and you can still walk, talk, and do what you need to do, join us so that we can make it right. I told you, I joined because of a disservice, but I stayed because I offered a service. And I would like for all of my sisters who've offered that service to make the service better for those to come behind us. It is not my mother, not my brother, not anybody else who can make me stand up. Stand because you've earned the right to do what's right. I just want to thank all of you for your service, wherever, whenever, how long. And I know that there's some struggles. I know that you've had to put up with some stuff that you never thought you would. You've had to suffer some things that you never thought you could. But I want you to know that the strength behind you is better than what you left behind, and you can move forward. I am looking for an opportunity for every woman in any organization. Doesn't matter where you served. Doesn't matter why you served. Doesn't matter what happened to you when you served. Know that there's better at the end of that journey than there was when whatever happened, happened.
Are you at all shocked it's this group of women now that's making all these changes?
What surprises me is you learn something different about each one of them every time they open their mouths. It's like we were standing over there. I am not surprised because I'm telling you, I found out that any woman who puts on the uniform has more than they ever thought they did, and it comes out sometime along that journey or shortly thereafter. And you would not believe the talents, gifts, and extraordinary women. I am so proud to be a part of this group. So proud. I didn't think I'd be able to say that because I look at some of my sisters and go, she ought to know better. And then I thought, that could be you. Maybe she's doing what she's doing to make you look better. You always like to look better, but I'm telling you, I started seeing, when they started saying women couldn't do it, I'm going to tell you, when I finally was the non-commissioned officer in charge, I looked for women that could do better at when the vehicle needed to be fixed, because I knew that they could do better.
Oh, excuse me, sir. Sir? We're filming right now. Sorry about that.
You didn't say woman do that, did you? No, I'm just joking. but attention to detail. I found out that my sisters usually are stronger when they would pay a little more attention. That's just like I had a man. I call my husband Mr. Mom because I'm telling you, he learned how to braid hair and do stuff. I was like, okay, in this partnership, let me tell you something. You can do your job from home, but while I'm out here, like I told you, he said, well, there's one thing that I just wasn't genetically made to do. I cannot nurse this baby, so what are we going to do? I said, that's what they call Pedialyte. If I can't get back here, I'm going to the field. You better work it out. And I'm going to tell you that I got to see that he said, him and some of his other compadres, because that's when they started having, it used to be the NCO Wives Club and the Officers Club. And well, my husband was one of those that said, we're going to change this name to the Spouses because I'm sitting up here with this baby just like you all are. I'm in here to try to find out how I can support my soldier just like you are. He said, and there's got to be some change here. I was never so proud of him because he was one of those that says, we'll just stay home because next time they call me wife, you're going to have to come and get me. So there are some changes that needed to be made. There's some things that happen, and then your children see the change. I'm telling you, I have a daughter that is just amazing, and my mother said that's because she has an amazing mother, and I said it's because I have an amazing mother. And so it does roll on. You know that you can build stronger because they see. I could never believe that when we did an Americanism program through the Korean War Veterans Association, that the little girls came up and said, have you ever shot a gun? Have you ever done this? I want to be like you. I was like, no, you want to be like you because you are smarter than me. You can do this and you can do. Yes, but I want to be able to stand in front of the children and tell them that this is important and I'm a woman because. And I left that room going, really? Really? It still amazes me that they believe because of all that they see on TV, and it's not always, good, and it's not always positive, that they believe that we had to be something different. This is the norm. This is really the norm, and it shouldn't be different. It shouldn't be something that they want to do different. It should be something that they want to do because it's what they are supposed to do.